Hey Grace Worship, we're here with another Foundations video. In this video, we're going to be talking about an essential tool that every musician should have at their disposal, the Nashville Numbers System, or the Number System for short. We use this system across every stage because it allows us to transpose on the fly and quickly and efficiently communicate between band members. So what exactly is this system and how do we learn how to use it? The Numbers System is an alternative method of transcribing music using numbers to represent the scale degree of any key rather than letters. Simply put, the number system assigns numbers 1 through 7 to each chord or note of a key. So let's see how this plays out on paper. So I've already written out a basic music theory pattern that is going to help us when we're writing out our note names of each major key. The important thing to remember here is that this pattern only works for major keys and it does not work for minor keys. We don't typically use minor keys in a worship context, so we're just going to stick to major keys right now. And we're going to start with the key of C major. So when we're writing out our note names, we're always going to start with the tonic, or the note that the key is named after. And so when we're using this pattern, these letters up here, the W's, are going to stand for whole steps, while the H's are going to stand for half steps. And so a whole step away from C, we're going to skip C sharp, which is a half step, go another half step to D. And then we're going to do the same thing from D to the next note, which is going to be E. Whole step away, we skip D sharp. And then a half step here from E is going to be F, so that we know there's no F flat or E sharp. And so we're going to go right to F. And I'm just going to continue filling this out in alphabetical order. The easy thing about C is that there's no sharps or flats, and so it's pretty easy to remember the note names in the key of C major. So this last half step is actually going to just tell us that the pattern continues and starts over there at our tonic with C major. So if you're also familiar with the key of C, you'll remember that the D, the E, and the A are all going to be minor chords, and then the C, F, and G are major. And we'll talk about the B here in a minute. Now, we know our key note names and we know the chord names as well, so we're going to move on to assigning them numbers. So we're going to start with our tonic just like we did when we started naming our notes. And so the tonic is always going to be given the number 1. So that's our starting point. From there, we keep going numerically, and we just number these 1 through 7. And so we know now that D is going to be our 2, E our 3, F our 4, G our 5, A minor our 6, and B our 7. And so those are our chord names when corresponding to our numbers. And so another important thing to keep in mind when we're talking about chords and numbers is the major-minor pattern. And so we know that our 1, our 4, and our 5 are always going to be major chords when we're thinking about numbers. And our 2, 3, and 6 will always be minor when we're thinking through numbers in major keys. And so it's not uncommon to see our 2, 3, and 6, when we're looking at a number chart, have these lowercase m's next to them, denoting that it's a minor chord. But it's also important to remember this major-minor pattern just in case that's not actually written on a number chart. So lastly, our 7 is going to be what's called a half-diminished chord. And so we see our B is also going to be that half-diminished. And so most often we see the 7 in this notation, which is called a 5/7 chord. And so what this is telling us is that our top number, our numerator, is going to be the chord that we play, and then the 7, or the denominator, is going to tell us what we play in the bass. And so we can see that our 5 is a G in the key of C, and our 7 is a B, and so we would end up playing a G over B chord. Now this is very important for our bass players to remember, because 99% of the time you guys are going to be playing what's in the denominator or the bass. And so that'll be a B, you'll play a B when you see this notation. The other time you're going to see this notation is with a 1/3 chord. And so we can see that the 1 is going to be our C. And then we can look up here, and what's our 3? That's an E. And so we'd end up playing a C over E chord, or bass players, you would end up playing this E. Now, a great way to practice this system is to start out with a template just like this. So you write out the numbers 1 through 7, you give them your minor and then your half diminished designation, and then you leave your 1, 4, and 5 alone just to denote that those are major. And then you can also write that whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half pattern up top to help you remember, if you get stuck, your intervals between notes in a major key. And so what you can do here is you can pick any key, any major key, and you can just write the name of it out here. So let's say G major to start, and then you know the easiest place to start is your 1. That's just going to be the name of your key, which is G. And so you can go from there and you can say a whole step away. Your 2 is going to be your A minor, 3 your B minor, 4 is your C, a half step from B, 5 is a whole step away, and that's going to be D, and then your 6 is going to be E minor, a whole step away from D, and then a half step from E is going to be, or sorry, a whole step from E is going to be your F sharp half diminished. And then a half step away would take you right back to G. And so you can do this with any key, and this is a great way to practice if you wanted to do this in B major, or you could do it in B flat, start throwing in some flats and sharps to challenge yourself. You can do that as well. This is a great way to just chart it out and have it all on one page so that you can practice looking at these and memorizing them. Now, another great way to practice is with note cards. So you can take any 3x5, just regular note card, number them 1 through 7. And then what I would do is I would, down here in the bottom right corner, give that your key. And in this case would be the key of G. And so you'd pick it up and you'd say, okay, what is my number 1 in the key of G? And you try to guess. And then on the flip side, you can check your answer. You can see that the 1 in the key of G is G. And then the same thing down here, we're guessing what the 4 is in the key of E. You take your guess and then flip it on the other side and you can check your answer. And here we see that the number 4 in the key of E is A. You can use this with any key, practice through all of them. That way you can get used to memorizing these on the fly. And recognizing how to transpose between the numbers and the chord names. So now you've learned the system and how to practice it. But why is this all so important? Well, imagine you've spent time all week learning a song in the key of C, but you get to rehearsal and the band is in a situation where they need to drop the key to B. Now you essentially have to spend time learning the song all over again in a brand new key, transposing in your head. Now, the magic of the number system is that it's universal across every key, meaning if you learn a song in numbers, you've learned it in every key. So once you take the time on the front end to learn the system and to learn your notes of your major keys, you possess the skills to quickly and easily transpose on the fly, saving you time and effort in situations like this. Another helpful application of the number system is that it allows for clear and efficient communication amongst the band. So if I'm a worship leader and I am leading a song in the key of B, I'm going to throw a capo on my 4th fret of my acoustic and I'm going to play in G shapes. But if I'm trying to communicate with my keys player, or the rest of the band for that matter, and tell them what note we want to end on or what chord to end on, I can't say let's end on a G because G is not in the key of B. However, if the whole band knows the universal language of numbers, I can simply say let's end on the 1 and everyone will know that I'm saying let's end on the B. So once you learn this system, you'll set yourself up for success in our contemporary worship context and in any musical context for that matter. Thank you for joining us for another Foundation video. We hope you enjoyed the content. We hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, please email us at worship@grace-bible.org. We'll see you next time.